Everybody, and welcome back to the OutMarket.pro Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Stein. I'm excited to take you into a deep dive into the world of banking, private banking, just to be specific, with today's guest, Amanda Waugh. Amanda has built an impressive career in banking, starting out at Commonwealth Bank in Louisville, or Louisville as the natives call it, back in the mid-90s, and worked her way up through roles in private banking, lending, and portfolio management. Today, she serves as a relationship manager at Stockyards Bank, an independent bank in Louisville, Kentucky, where she draws on nearly 3 decades of experience helping clients with their financial needs. Amanda, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate it.
All right. So let's start with, what is a private banker and who should be interested in seeking out a private banker?
A private banker is someone who provides kind of a concierge service for a client to help them with their banking needs, ranging from the deposit relationship all the way to lending, sometimes even with our brokerage and wealth management services. So we work hand in hand with a lot of our different departments within the bank to help the client with those services and to get the best experience possible. As far as someone that would be looking into private banking, we do have a criteria of income that needs to be met. We are looking for kind of some physicians, dentists, vets, business owners, attorneys that meet the income criteria or will be coming up to meet that income criteria. So that's kind of what we're looking for, to be able to help them, develop that relationship.
And you would be helping them with personal needs as well as business needs, I assume.
Correct. Yes.
So
In
you're
regards
sort of
to
quarterback.
Pretty much, yes. Just what I like to be able to do is maybe just have that one phone call where the client can call. You're the one that kind of orchestrates. If they need a new deposit account, you help get that set up. If they, even just basic stuff, need a transfer completed. If they're need a loan, you're able to help them with that or coordinate with another area. If it's not something we can do within private banking, you coordinate with another area to help with that. Same getting into our wealth management area and our brokerage area. Sometimes those are different type accounts that at least you can make an introduction to those areas to help that client and introduce them. But sometimes you're just that first phone call that they make. Where do I start with this? How do I do it? And then you do the orchestrating here on out.
Are there any major categories that you guys don't handle? Do you do SBA loans, lending? I hear you have a brokerage. Are there any areas that you would need to refer someone out? Typical banking stuff.
Right. Normally, we will refer if it gets into where it's a business type loan that's a little bit out of our realm. Like maybe if it was a physician purchasing an office, we may be able to help with that in private banking. But if you're getting into other areas, it may be best for business banking to step in or commercial lending to step in. Say, like back to the SBA question, that we have an area that works with SBA strictly, and that's their area of expertise. So sometimes we would refer that to the SBA area. They know the products and are able to help the client get whatever would be the best options to help their needs.
Now, what I meant was not that you would need to refer people out into the bank, but are there major areas that, see, you are a relatively small bank. You're not one of the huge banks, although I think you've done some acquisitions in the last few years, so you're getting bigger. It doesn't mean anything to me, but how many, what size is it? I think it's in deposits, is how banks measure themselves.
I think so, yes. which I think we're close to 10 million has kind of been the talk. So I believe that's
Okay.
about where we are.
Okay. So a relatively small bank compared to
Right.
Chase, Bank America,
Right.
local bank.
Right.
But so my question was not, do you have to refer people out within the bank, but are there major areas that the stockyards does not handle, that a business person is likely to need? I don't think you do insurance, do you?
No, we do
Typically
not
banks
do
don't.
insurance. No, we do not. Um, no, that not that I can think of. You know, we try to, as far as in the world of actual lending, there's a lot that we are able to do. I'm sure there's some things, situations that would come up that we're not able to look at. But in the world of lending, as far as deposits, we've got a pretty open book on being able to help people with that.
Okay. You mentioned a floor in terms of income or net worth. Are you at liberty to mention what that is, or do we need to just keep it general at this point?
If you don't mind, we'll keep it general right now. Because
Okay.
sometimes it can kind of fluctuate based on the situation a little bit. We just
Okay.
have a kind of a bottom line where we like to start with income. But sometimes people are coming up, you know, you've got a resident coming up, you know, maybe we're able to help them starting out and they continue to grow and are able to stay in private banking. So
Mm,
I don't know if it's a set hard line, but we try to stay within that criteria, but there are some sometimes open opportunities.
okay.
So
So if it's a new physician just starting a practice, then they're not going to have the office, they're not going to have the income.
right,
Um, but maybe if the limit might hit if you've got somebody on the tail end of their career, they're part-time, they're not in a growth mode, whether it be
right,
doctor or dentist. Um, okay. And it sounds like also that there could be some niche businesses, uh, on the business owner side that you may not be able to, um, to work with them because who knows how it's going to develop. It could be the best business ever, but they're just getting started. Um, so you may not be able to work with them.
right.
Okay.
I mean, for example, I have some clients that they had a restaurant type situation. As a client I've known, dealt with a long time, but that was a little bit out of my realm for private banking. So we were able to bring in a business banker to help them with that new adventure for them. So and it worked pretty well.
Great. So, um, what are what is your approach to working with your clients? You're going to have a much more personal relationship than most bankers have with their clients. Um, talk a little bit about how someone in your position, and most decent sized banks have a private banking division, right? That are working with high net worth individuals and concierge banking. So what's your approach, with your clients? And I don't want this to sound suggestive, but how personal does it get, in that role?
I mean, sometimes pretty personal. You may find out someone's getting ready to go through a divorce before the spouse does. I mean, sometimes it's very personal. You know, because we have privacy guidelines that we have to follow. So I think sometimes people, you know, they have a comfort level with you that they've developed over a period of time, and they tell you a lot of information, you know, that's going on in their life. And you know, I'm happy that they have that comfort level to be able to do that and know that they can trust you. You know, usually if they're not just calling to tell you that information, there is a reason that maybe they need to borrow funds to pay out someone for divorce, or there's times that you have to know what the behind the scenes is so that you can try to help them. But there are times it is very personal. I always kind of joke wear a therapist, maybe bartender hat at sometimes, because you have people telling you a lot of information. So,
Right.
but again, it's always with that, they know that there is that privacy, that we keep that information, there at the bank level. So it's not something that we're going to go out and talk about amongst other
Sure.
clients. So
Do you take your clients out to a nice dinner sometimes, especially new
um,
ones you're getting to know them?
sometimes I meet them for lunch. Sometimes it's a little hard with schedules. You have doctors that it's a little hard for them to get away during the day. But there are certain other clients that I meet with, maybe that are business people, try to take them out for lunch, just play catch up. If we haven't seen each other for a while, or, even just stop by an office, and just catch up for a few minutes, try to, stay in front of them, know that we're still there, available for them as needed. So.
Mhm. Um, since you're in Louisville, I'm from Georgia originally, and for the audience, I used to live in Louisville, and I always had a hard time saying Louisville the way the natives say it. So I think it outs me that I'm not a native, but
Right.
I've lived there for 30 something years probably. But given that you were in Louisville, do you get Derby box seats, and those sorts of things to take your clients out?
Yeah, I believe there are some bankers that do. I have not been able to do that. But we
Okay.
have some opportunities, for the Bats game, Lou City soccer, which has been a really nice event to take clients to. Um, Even going, which I am not a U of L fan, but even took some fans clients to a U of L game.
Okay.
And I had to wear my red, even though I didn't want to. So, so there's some other opportunities sometimes that we have, but I have not had Derby tickets, so to speak, to take clients out actually on Derby Day.
You must be a Kentucky fan if you had that much trouble going to a U of L
Yes. Ah, very much so.
Um, Hi, I'm Mark Stein, principal of OutMarket.pro. If you're a consultant or professional and you haven't looked at our lead generation program recently, it's time to take a second look. This year, we've added 3 powerful features that are already driving better results for our clients. First, our new AI enhanced targeting engine. It uses machine learning to prioritize the right prospects based on real-time engagement and profile matching. In fact, clients using this new system saw an 11% increase in affirmative responses in quarter 1 of 2025 compared to quarter 1 of 2024. It's a smarter, faster way to reach decision makers who are ready to talk. Second, our personal brand boost program. Because generating leads is only half the equation, you need to look the part. We create polished branding videos, enhance your online presence, and provide AI curated content to position you as a trusted expert before your first conversation. Third, our client video welcome and ghosting messages. We deliver short, personalized AI-powered videos that thank prospects by name and invite them to book a call. We also re-engage quiet leads with follow-ups that feel personal, not robotic, bringing more leads back to life. On average, our lead generation program delivers a 2% affirmative response rate, and our automated systems ensure that you spend your time talking to prospects, not chasing them. If you're ready to grow with smarter targeting, stronger branding, and better follow-through, let's connect. You can schedule a call using my link, email me, or just give me a ring. So why would a business owner seek a private banker? And talk to me a little bit about doing so with a bank, a small to medium bank, local bank, versus one of the big behemoths and going to a banker there?
I think one of the big pluses for a local bank is you have a person that is in town, and if I stop by their office, they are going to be there, or someone that works with them is there. If I call them, they're available locally. I'm not calling another state. Even going to the next level, my division managers right down the hall from me. I can go to him if I need his assistance on, is this a deal we can do, a lending opportunity. I can go to him. His boss is also right down the hall from me. We can go to her and say, what about this deal? I think that is a huge plus, is we are all here locally. It's if someone is not actually in the office, they're within an easy phone call. Also, usually these people know who the client is, unless it's a new client coming in. But if it's a current client, they know of that person. So you're not starting from scratch with someone who doesn't even know who these clients are. So sometimes I think that's a big plus, that I believe helps, with just a little bit more personal service than if you're dealing maybe with the larger bank.
Mm-hmm. And from my earlier question, you provide all of the basic services that
Right.
a big bank would provide. So
Right.
if they need credit card processing, you may not do the processing yourself, but you've got an in-house or a vendor, preferred
Correct.
vendor to do that. So
Right.
yeah, and I have dealt with one of the big banks, and I have a new person calling me about every 3 months. I'm your banker, just down the street. And they are just down the street, but they're in a rotating seat. Um, so it's a new one every 3 or 4 months.
Right.
So um,
Definitely.
and unfortunately, the last time they called, the only thing I needed was to close an account. So I'm sure it was disappointing.
Yeah, definitely. They finally got to talk to you and you were closing an account.
Yeah, it was a little one, but still,
Yeah,
I'm sure it wasn't what they were looking for.
right, definitely. Yes,
Um,
definitely.
let's talk about banking and trends in banking in general. It seemed like for a while in the 80s, 90s, really into the 2000s, that the banking industry was consolidating so fast. I mean, I remember I was in southern Indiana, and the little Indiana bank that I was with got gobbled up like 3 times within 3 years. So I was always having to get new checks. Um, but it seems like that consolidation has slowed significantly. I don't read much about banks buying other banks. Uh, talk to me about that, is to the extent that you're aware of that trend.
That is not really something that I have a lot of knowledge about. I'm like you, I have not seen it as much, because I do feel like, you know, maybe 10 years ago, a little bit more, there was a lot of that. Those smaller banks were being bought up by the larger banks. And then, I think we had a bank here locally. They were bought by a large bank. And then next thing we knew, there was another bank buying. So we were hearing a lot of that, but I do think that has slowed down, but I don't know why and what the reasoning is for that. Because I was part of, Commonwealth Bank, who was bought by Stockyards. And I believe that Stockyards had also bought another bank before that within the same year. So I know that was a lot. And I think for them, it just the opportunities presented themselves where they were able to make those purchases at the time. But I don't know a lot of how all that works and the
Mhm.
slowdown and the reasoning for all that. So I will lead you astray on that if I give my opinion. So
Okay. Well, and I would imagine that it was just supply drying up.
possibly.
That a lot of those little banks, especially in our region, did get bought up.
Yes.
And, so
Yes.
um, let's talk a little bit about the banking relationship and let's go through sort of a laundry list of some of the opportunities that you can provide. And I would imagine that probably the most important first step for you, from your point of view, is to get their banking business. So, if not all of it, certainly the majority of it, and the larger amounts. So that's probably a prerequisite to being able to provide the services, because that's the way you make your money.
Right.
So, are there other, you know, are there other areas of expectation when you go in with somebody? Is it first right of refusal? And if it's a quarter of a point difference between me and another bank, hey, give me the benefit of the doubt in the business. Talk a little bit about what your hopes and expectations are when you bring on a new client.
Sometimes it starts with a loan, and you get them into the bank where they get to know you, they develop that relationship and feel comfortable with you, that you provided a loan, you did a good job, you were attentive, you communicated with them timely, and you develop that trust relationship. And I think sometimes when you lead with that, and again with the loan, sometimes then they want to come back and they want to bring you the deposit relationship. So it's, and then sometimes it goes the other way. You start with a deposit relationship and then it goes to a loan. It just kind of varies from client to client. But I have seen a lot of it where it does start with a loan and then you get the deposit relationship. And some clients say they like their bank, they don't want to move, but sometimes you can whittle them down over a period of time where they do come back and hopefully give you that relationship to you. Again, I hope they find it easier at some point to realize you've got that one phone call you can make. So I hope that's something that kind of helps lead people to, again, having the whole relationship somewhere.
So let's say you've got a big business owner that's established, been there a while, you'd love to have them. Might they just trickle into you and say, okay, let me give you a shot. Here's one significant account. It's not a $10 savings account. Here's a significant account. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what you can do for me and how we relate to each other. Does that happen?
No, that can happen, definitely. Of course, if it's maybe a business account, sometimes that, depending on who the client, sometimes that may stay more with our business area. And then, but maybe the personal accounts might trickle down to me, where I can help take care of them on that personal side and develop that relationship with them, which again, I think helps for the client to know, hey, I've got Amanda in private banking, and then I've got so-and-so that's also in commercial or business banking. I can call both of them and I've got a good team that works there that will help me with my relationship. So I just feel like it can broaden that relationship too.
What about SBA loans? I haven't dealt with it before, and I understand there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of requirements. Do you work with them, with the client on the front end? I know that you said you've got a specialist, and I think most banks do. Bigger banks will only have a handful of SBA specialists. How does that work? And who quarterbacks that?
So if someone called needing an SBA loan and they called me for that, that is not something I would do in my area. So that's where I would bring in someone from our business banking in our SBA area, let them know what the client's needing, introduce them, and then kind of let them run with that as the quarterback, so to speak, to take care of that client. Again, it goes back to that's more their area of expertise than it would be mine. So I let them run with that, but I can make the introduction for them, and then they're dealing with someone who would know the right avenues to get them to where they need and get them the end result of what they need.
Do you do things like ribbon cuttings and other grand openings and that sort of thing with
Yeah,
your clients or with potential clients?
I have not. I would love the opportunity, but I have not. So
Huh.
yes. Yeah, because the one restaurant that I was talking about that opened, I was able to go by there and actually eat a meal, see the owners, get the experience, but they had already done their grand opening. So I missed that and
Okay.
was not able to be a part of it. So,
Okay.
but I got to eat food, but it was really good. So
Sure.
that was really good.
Yeah. And if they had an open bar, even better yet.
Yeah.
Um, Tell me, without violating any privacy, I would imagine that you get some fun, unusual requests. Any of them stick out that you can share, or just experiences um, with clients without breaching privacy?
Um, you kind of put me on the spot there. If you had not asked me that, I could think of something. We, um,
Well, just
I
let it.
cannot remember one right off the top of my head.
Okay.
We sometimes do get unusual requests. Sometimes I have a situation that came up with a client. It wasn't really a request, so to speak, but they had to bring funds to closing, and it was quite a bit. And they brought it in a suitcase in cash, as cash, which was a little interesting. Not the norm where you would send a wire for your
Right.
closing funds. That was a little odd. That's one story that sticks out greatly in my mind that was just really weird. So we had to call security, have them come in, help get the funds back to the bank safely without any
Right.
issue. And yeah, so it was kind of an interesting situation. But no, I can't think of any other.
Okay.
We've had them, but I cannot think of one right at the moment. So
Sure. And I told you I wouldn't put you on the spot, and I did. What I do, and I'm much older than you are, but I just sort of let it sit, and then it usually pops up. And that might be
Yes.
after the podcast has long been over. But anyway, um, what else well, no, let's back up and let's talk about networking. So what type of networking do you do? I know you and I are in a networking group.
Right.
Um, what what kind of outreach do you typically do? Is it chamber membership? What type of outreach do you typically do to reach out and get referrals? Because I think it's probably the best source. Tell me a little
Yes,
bit
that
about
is
your.
actually kind of one thing I'm just starting to get into, trying to find my niche with the networking. My focus has probably been more with certain clients I have, using them as kind of like a center of influence. And they're clients that I've worked with a long time, known a long time, and then trying to work with them. Some of them are business owners, to say, if you have a client that I can help you with, please refer them to me. I'd like that opportunity. I think I've shown that I've helped to take care of you. If there's someone looking for a banking relationship, whether even if it's just a deposit, doesn't have to be a loan, well, however I can help. So that's kind of been my focus right now. I'm just starting with getting into actual networking groups and trying to find my little niche for that. So
What are your best referral sources, your natural referral sources that have similar clients or have the clients that you're talking about?
some of the best resources have been people within the bank. Some of them that are in our other areas. Sometimes they refer pretty good business. Um, and then sometimes it just comes from a client, that you took care of and they were happy with your service and they refer somebody to you. So
Mhm.
that's kind of, I just always feel like kind of that word of mouth. If you take care of somebody, they're going to talk about it. You don't take care of them, they're going to talk about it too. But I think
Yeah.
that best is that word of mouth, where you've done your best to take care of them. And even, sometimes we may not have the best rates, But I try to be honest and open with somebody and just, again, have a good conversation with them. They know where I am, and I want to leave them with a good experience. And maybe at that time I don't get their business, but maybe even they come back. It's just, you never know which road someone's going to take and where they turn around and come back. So you just always leave the door open.
In thinking about it, I would think accountants might be
They are, yes.
one of the best referral sources.
Yes,
They know when somebody's starting a business and poised
definitely.
for growth.
Yes.
I'm not sure that financial advisors would be the best because you've got a brokerage and you've got CDs. There's some overlap there on what
Right.
they can provide and what you can provide. Do you
Right.
find that to be true?
Sometimes, and there's a lot of brokerage companies that have been able to start doing lending that may be secured with that brokerage account. Whereas years ago, they didn't do that. So we were able to get some of, that lending opportunity. So that kind of is cut into it. And, with the client borrowing their own money, sometimes that's a lower rate than what we could offer at the bank. So, but I would say CPAs are a very good referral source, sometimes attorneys, and
Especially business
sometimes
attorneys, I guess.
definitely, and insurance brokers. They're talking to someone about a homeowner's, policy. Sometimes opportunities come up with them, where it might be a lending opportunity. So.
Good. Social media posts are more effective when they stop the scroll, and nothing grabs attention like video. Hi, I'm Mark Stein, and with OutMarket.pro, we've taken our powerful social media posting service to the next level by adding custom video posts made just for you. Using our video creation tools, we create short, personalized videos on topics that matter to your audience and reflect the expertise of your business. These videos are integrated right into your social media feed as part of our program that delivers 3 high-quality posts every day, 5 days a week. Whether you're in real estate, insurance, financial services, or any professional field, video content dramatically boosts engagement and visibility. Pricing varies depending on topic complexity and the format you choose, but the value is clear. Your brand gets more exposure and your audience stays more connected. Let's make your social presence more dynamic and more personal. Schedule a call with me at the link below, email me at mark@outmarket.pro, or just give me a call at 502-333-4718. Let's put the power of custom video to work for you. What haven't we talked about that you typically talk about with a new prospect in terms of the benefits of dealing with a concierge banker?
Right. Just, the big thing, I just want them to know I keep them in the loop. So, if we're discussing a loan, I'm working on something, I want them to know where we are. I may not do a follow-up every single day and I'm not going to wear them out, but I want that communication to be open. I want them to know that they will know what is going on, especially if in a lending situation, let's say with a purchase, that you're with a contract, you've got a timing you've got to meet. So I want that client to realize I am working on this. This is what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. We've ordered an appraisal. The appraisal's in the works. So I think that's a big thing, is for them to know that we will communicate. And I want them to also feel like they can communicate back with me, know that I'm available for them. Even if it has something to do with outside the loan, if it's with their account, if they're going to be traveling and we need to put a notice on their debit card, I want them to realize, you need to call Amanda. Amanda's going to be there and be available. Banking, I have found, talking to other banks, products are so much the same. I think your customer service is what has to stand out.
Mhm.
And that is just one thing that I have learned from different people that have been my mentors, that just clients knowing that you're there, you're going to provide good service, you're going to be honest with them. If it's something you can't do, you're honest with them and you tell them, but you also try to figure out all avenues to maybe meet their needs. So that's kind of my basic thing. I just want them to know up front that starting out with that, that is the customer service. That's you're talking to someone here locally. I'm going to be available by email. I'm available on my cell. I am here to help you. You can text me, preferably not in the middle of the night, but I might respond. So,
Uh,
but that's my big thing again, is that hopefully that customer service.
and them having your cell, um, I just switched primary physicians, and this woman is probably late 60s, early 70s, huge long-term practice. And she said, I don't wear a watch when I'm at the office. I take whatever time I need with my clients, with patients. I'm always late, so bring something to do when you have an appointment with me. And this was the incredible part. I give out my cell number for nights and weekends, and I take calls. And
Wow.
I thought, where are you from? Uh,
Yes.
uh, Minnie Welby instead of Marcus Welby. So I think when you make yourself available like that, and I try to do that with my clients, especially a website issue, things need to be done right away. Here's another question. I know we're about to wind up here shortly, but you often get in a position, I'm sure, to have to deliver bad news to your clients. And, you know, this this part of your portfolio, it does not lend itself, pardon the pun, to this kind of loan. Um, or you've got some deficits in your credit history or either business or personal. So how do you deal with that? That's got to be touchy to give somebody, especially bad news, when they're very hopeful that you can ring this bell for them.
It is not fun. Definitely. Because again, you want to please a client and you want a client to be happy. But I think it's back to that, the honesty part. I've letting them know I've looked at it these different ways. I've spoken to my boss, again, who's right down the hall. We may have brought our director of private banking in to have a discussion also. We've tried to look at this several different ways to make it work, but your credit score maybe doesn't work, or unfortunately your income doesn't work this way. If there's a possibility of something they can change, um, maybe we can look at it down the road. You try to have that conversation also. But again, you just have to suck it up, be honest, just let them know this is not something we can look at it right now. And maybe there are sometimes our other banks that can look at it and they're fine with it, but I just have to let them know. It's not the fun part of the job, definitely, but it has to be
Yeah.
done. So.
If let's say it is a credit problem, are you able to do a soft hit on their credit, see what it is, and help them possibly remedy it? It could be a misunderstanding or a bogus report or something. And do you get that granular to help them, or do you have a specialist on staff that can work with them to remedy that factor that's limiting them?
No, we aren't able to do a soft pull. It's usually a hard pull. So we do see the credit bureau. Um, One of the things that I see with a lot of clients that affects their score is if they have a lot of revolving credit with their credit cards, lines of credit that are at their max. So trying to have a conversation with the client to let them know, if you're keeping these credit cards fully maxed, you're not paying them down, this is going to affect your credit score in a negative way. Um, there are are some people, they don't have kind of a balance in their credit where for whatever reason, they may not have a mortgage or a car loan that's an installment loan that kind of seems to help a little bit where it's being paid down. So I think a lot of it is you pull the credit, you see that it's maybe not the best score, doesn't meet the criteria. You try to talk to the client and try to make it be a teaching moment to help them. Maybe this is not something you can do at this point, but this is something you can correct. And maybe in a certain time frame, you bring your credit score up. Maybe it's something we can look at again. Sometimes it's income, and that's a little harder to deal with income, especially if you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, with the cost of living the way it is. We see a lot of high credit card balances. So sometimes it's a little hard for people, but you just try to have conversations where it's a teaching moment to try to help them, and improve what they can, and it's not always an overnight thing. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit.
Mhm. I remember a bumper sticker that says, "Can I pay my Visa with my MasterCard?"
Yeah.
A lot of people get in that situation.
Yes, they do. Yeah. It's hard. And a lot of people have student loans and, it's just some big payments and it's painful for them. You feel
Yeah.
for them.
Especially the physicians. And now, it used to be you get a physician license, it's your ticket, and you're going to own your practice. And now most of them are employees. So
Right.
the wealth doesn't grow like it used to for them,
Right.
for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
If someone would like to reach out to you, is your footprint statewide? Is it regional? How far out from Louisville can you help people?
Probably the Louisville area would be the main focus. Going into some of the outlying counties, I'm an Oldham County resident, so even going into Oldham County, Henry County, we also go into Southern Indiana. We have other private banking offices in some of our outlying markets, as far as Indy, Cincy, Central Kentucky. So if it gets a little bit further out, then more of the immediate Louisville area, there would be other people that would be there to help. That would probably be better suited, a little bit more knowledgeable of that area to help out. But definitely the Louisville area and surrounding areas.
Okay. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what are the best ways to do that?
My office number, which is it okay if I give that?
Sure.
Okay. My office at Stockyards Bank is 502-259-2465. Or I'm also available by email, which is Amanda, AMANDA WAUGH@SYB.com.
For Stockyards Bank.
Stockyards Bank, yes.
Got it. And your office is where?
I'm actually located in the Middletown area,
Okay.
kind of close to the Gene Snyder. But I
Okay.
travel. I have many clients in St. Matthews, some that are downtown, just, kind of wherever. So, but that's where I'm located is Middletown.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. This has been a wealth of information. Again, no pun intended, with the banking, but lots of good information. And I bet there are a lot of people who really could benefit from this service that don't even know about it, and don't know it's available, just because they just haven't come across it. So I'm hoping that a lot of people in the audience in the Louisville area will find out about it and find out about you, and reach out and have that benefit of somebody that's really on their side, who knows their business, so that when you need a loan, you're not dealing with somebody that's never heard of you before and you're going in cold. So to have somebody that familiar with your business and with who you are personally and what your goals are personally, I can see that there's a lot of value there. So I really appreciate you being on the podcast and
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity also.
and sharing your information. So let me wind up here. So again, thanks, Amanda, for being with me on the OutMarket.pro podcast. To learn more about Amanda, you can find her information, if you didn't jot it down as she was telling you, down in the show notes below. You can also learn more about OutMarket.pro, an outsourced marketing company, and our small business solutions as well down in the show notes. Or check us out online at www.outmarket.pro. If you enjoyed this episode, and we do them almost weekly, and focus on a small business, somebody doing cool things, all sorts of business owners, and service providers, but especially focused on topics that would be of interest to small business owners. So if you like the episode, don't forget to like it, subscribe, and click that notification bell so that you'll get notice of future episodes. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the OutMarket.pro podcast. Thanks again, Amanda.